William Wang saw the television business becoming commoditized and being the lowest price provider. And he pivoted and ended up creating a network of users and data around these people and what they watched. Different than a cable box, he saw everything you watched, whether it was through your Roku or your Apple TV or your Xbox. And so he can tell not only after you watched House of Cards, did you play a video game? Did you watch a YouTube video? And that's why Walmart bought them for data. And I think that's a great example of having foresight to understand where you need to go and then landing the plane.
So very excited to have my friend Scott here on the show. Given your background in media entertainment, you've been in so many different spaces. Before we dive into the different chapters, my big umbrella question is, where is your source of drive that gives you the power to navigate all these different chapters you've had in your career?
I think that the main thing is I'm curious about things and I want to learn about things. That's the good news. The bad news is that has to come at a cost, and the cost is probably an attention span of doing things. I really enjoy understanding new businesses and how they work. And probably the most success I've had has been in businesses that were largely disruptive by nature. Fox was disrupted. They don't seem that way now, but at the time they were. I can't tell you how many people told me starting TNT or the Fox network were fool's errands that would never work. And well, they did. And unfortunately, the effect of how disruptive those isn't as clear today, but that's good because then we made the right choice.
How do you, as a leader, hone those skills to really truly build such a workplace and empower your team from all different levels?
I don't know that there's one thing, and I think some of the stuff can't be learned. You can teach somebody how to make a budget. You can teach somebody how to do technical tasks, but you can't teach people how to be curious, how to be courteous, how to manage people. That's something that you either have or you don't. The ability to inspire confidence in people. There are some people that, for whatever reason, may not have the physical attributes that people are necessarily going to lead. It's not that you can't, but you have to understand what the limitation is. And then how are you going to modify your behavior against that limitation? So when I started working in the 80s, there weren't a lot of Asian people in the workplace in America. They were all super polite, hardworking, and quiet. So I made a strategic decision to be super outgoing and probably noisier and tried to be funny. That was not what people expected. I knew I didn't have a problem with people thinking that I was numerically driven because that's a stereotype about Asians, or I was a hard worker or any of that. So you modify things to get there. And then at a certain point, you've done enough stuff. So the meme takes over, but there's that point where you have to establish what you're doing. And look, I think that the way you did that in the 80s and 90s is way different than how you do it today. I'm loath to give advice because anything I did back then would probably end up with me getting fired today. So I don't know that I would.
How is it different today? Because as we celebrate Asian American Pacific Island Heritage Month in celebration of this conversation, how can AAPI leaders who's listening think about, geez, I still feel like a minority, to step up and figure out how to find their voice, or others who's tuning in to say, I want to be a better ally to AAPIs and I don't know how?
I don't know that I ever thought consciously one way or another about whether my ethnicity was self-limiting. And I think when you project that you think you should be there, then it is an intangible that people don't question you. People act like they're at home wherever they are. That makes you feel better. Irving Azoff is probably one of the most successful people in the music business. And I never forget the first time I met him, he called me up, he goes, "Hey, Scooty, how have you been?" I'm thinking, Scooty, why is he calling me Scooty? I don't know this guy. And how have I been? I've never talked to him, but it was like a great trick, right? Because I made me feel familiar and comfortable with him. And that's one of the reasons he's a good manager. He makes you feel comfortable with him.